So, is anyone going to talk about how Western boy bands just went bye bye bye? nsync, the Backstreet Boys, One Direction, Boyz II Men, 5 Seconds of Summer, Big Time Rush, some of the biggest boy bands in all of Western history. The boy band genre had several heydays, most notably the 90s, early 2000s, and early 2010s. Ah, the good old days. When I tell you that these boy bands were topping the charts, it was absolutely insane. They made people go crazy. And while there were groups of people who looked down on them, calling their music cheesy or immature, it is undeniable the impact that they had on the Western music scene. After One Direction broke up in 2015, and with 5 Seconds of Summer on hiatus and later switching to a more mature sound, the Western's obsession with boy bands slowly began to fizzle out. But they were still boy bands, of course. The late 2010s saw the likes of Prettymuch, In Real Life, Why Don't We, New Hope Club, and Road Trip, if you were really deep into the boy band hole.
Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
Emerging and gaining followings of various sizes. I personally was very into all of these bands, but I acknowledge that I was one of very few. Why Don't We was undeniably the most successful group out of all of these, but they still didn't receive any recognition even remotely similar to the likes of 1D or nsync. And beyond a couple Radio Disney plays, the rest of these groups didn't really do much substantial either. As the times changed and Western pop began to expand their taste a bit, Latin pop became one of the most popular genres. Radio hits like Despacito and Camila Cabello's solo success, and the rise of the group CNCO showed a shift in the genre of pop. What the teams behind boy bands were always very good at doing was mirroring the times and following the trends. So attempts to get in on this Latin music popularity, Prettymuch and In Real Life began trying to globalize themselves. Prettymuch collabed with CNCO on the hit song Mi Necesita, and they also collabed with Luisa Gerloff Sanza on their song The Weekend for their international EP. And In Real Life began fusing English and Spanish together on many of their songs such as Don't Go and How Badly. Despite all of these songs being very good, unfortunately none of them grew to be popular. It was as if the Western pop scene began to grow tired of their own creations and had much more interest in things that were new. So even when their own groups tried to join in on the party, they were ultimately turned away. The obsession with all things foreign continued as the Korean wave hit the West, and K-pop was exposed to the general public on a global scale. Suddenly all eyes were on groups like BTS and EXO, and groups like Why Don't We and Prettymuch slowly faded into fond memories. And in the Western boy band's defense, it's hard to compete with perfection. The Korean groups were more polished in every way, heavier management, more precise direction and concepts, and records that were considered squeaky clean by Korean standards anyway. With everyone leaving Western boy bands and flocking to K-pop groups, myself included, boy bands had to accept defeat and say, well, if we can't beat them, we might as well join them. As mentioned earlier, Prettymuch's international EP saw them collabing with stars from many different cultures. One of the most popular collaborations from this album was Up to You, featuring K-pop group NCT Dream, known by most as the most popular unit of NCT in Korea. When I tell you my world shook when this song came out, what do you mean my favorite boy band and my favorite K-pop group were collabing on a song together? About consent, no less? Pure perfection. After this, Prettymuch members Brandon and Edwin went on to write and produce for NCT Dream once again on their song Blue Wave, as well as with the famous K-pop group EXO on their song Paradise. Additionally, Brandon has worked with Monsta X, TVXQ, and NCT DoJaeJung. The rise of K-pop seemed to be the death of the boy band, with people no longer settling for anything less of precision. And I'm not saying that Western boy bands are bad by any means, but you put them side by side with your average K-pop group, and they kind of flail in comparison. So that's it. Boy bands reach their demise. Video over. But wait. What if I told you we still have boy bands? While Prettymuch and In Real Life both broke up once they realized they were fighting a losing battle, and Why Don't We and Road Trip broke up because of label tensions or tensions within the group, this didn't stop other boy bands from continuing on or new ones from debuting. New Hope Club are still together, and groups like Full Circle and No Lonely Hearts have recently emerged on the scene. Now, unsurprisingly, I am the only one who cares about this, but these groups are good. Kind of. And these boys are flopping bad. They're not flopping because they suck, they're just extreme victims of circumstance, with coming too late on a genre that already has passed its time. Aside from the once-in-a-blue-moon viral TikToks, these groups are really flying under the radar. The reality is that boy bands are stuck in a rut that is simply impossible to get out of. But oh, do these boys try. And there's something kind of cute about a guy who tries. Taking a page out of the Prettymuch handbooks, these groups have tried to immerse themselves in the K-pop world. Last year, New Hope Club collaborated with K-pop group P1 Harmony on their song Super Chic. No Lonely Hearts have made a thing out of covering BTS songs. they're big Jungkook fans apparently, and Full Circle has danced to K-pop songs on their TikTok account. Since K-pop is where their entire demographic fled to, these new boy bands have been trying to intertwine themselves with the Korean music scene to gain back even a sliver of the popularity their genre once had. At this point, I don't really see anything that could happen that could bring the boy band genre back, and I think that everybody has to accept that it's just 6 feet in the ground at this point. But what I can guarantee is that I will be the sole survivor of this boy band extermination. As long as there are groups out there that are still trying, I will be an active listener. Whether I love them or hate them, I will give them my streams, my social media interactions, and they will be the subjects of my never-ending yap fest on my spam story. Don't fear, boys. I'll always be here.